Would you rather have sex or would you rather get affirmations from your spouse? What's up, everybody? I'm Tommy McCollister. I'm joined today by my wife, Dianne, and welcome
Hey.
to the High Level Husband podcast. We're going to dive into this topic because it's something that's been going through my mind and my heart, but then also I had a coaching situation yesterday where I was talking about this with a client, and I just basically asked him, I said, man, would you rather get sex from your spouse or would you rather have affirmations? And he's like, man, great question. He said, I think affirmations. But I'll tell you what, one of the things that he was previously frustrated with was like sex in his marriage. Now he gets it pretty regularly, but sometimes he feels like it's his wife doing it as like
Check the box kind of thing.
yeah, or knowing that he enjoys it, so she does it for him. But that doesn't fill his cup. He's like, yeah, but then I know she's like doing it because she knows I enjoy it, which is great. But at the end of the day, we want it because we want to feel desired. And that's what sex mainly is for most men. We want to feel desired by our spouse, which is why it's nice when when you initiate sex as well, is because we feel desired in that moment. If you always just say yes when we initiate, that's great, but we want to feel desired. But anyways, on the topic of affirmations or sex, and why I was talking about this with him is he said, we've been doing so great and everything's getting better. But he said, I'm just always that guy that just wants to get better and better at marriage and life and fitness and business and all these things. And so he's just that dude that's running. That's his personality. But for his spouse, that's not her personality in a lot of ways. Not that she doesn't want to get better, but she's just not the twist the throttle, full speed ahead type of person. And before I kind of dive a little bit deeper into that, I feel like that's always been like me and your relationship, where for a long time I tried to like have you running faster than you like were desiring to go.
Right. I think you were trying to almost get me to grow at the speed that you were growing at that moment instead of my own speed.
Right. And one time a friend years ago pointed out to me, he said, Tommy, Diane is her own woman. Stop trying to make her another Tommy. And I know we talked about that when he had said that. I mean, would you agree that I was first trying to do that? And secondly, had you noticed that, or was that kind of an eye opener of like, that totally makes sense?
No, I would definitely agree with that. And I do feel like at that time that you were trying to kind of not force me, but like turn me in the direction of the speed and what you were doing in life,
Right. Which I think was having you feel like as a letdown.
Because I was never going to succeed trying to be at your level or trying to be what you are, because I have my own strengths and qualities and they're different than what yours are, for sure. 100%.
Exactly. And so that's a whole nother topic. But anyways, and so he's that guy and their marriage is growing in so many different ways. And it's been about 2 months now and their marriage is just gaining so much steam and all this stuff. But he's just always like, well, then we could do this more and we could add in this, this, and this. And so he wanted her to watch a podcast on intimacy, and she agreed. But at the end of it, he was like, so what do you think? Like, he wanted to break it down and like do all this stuff. And she was like, well, what do you want from me? And he's like, well, nothing. I just like thought maybe we'd talk about this. And she's like, well, am I not good enough? Like, I think the sex we have now is amazing. And he's like, well, no, it's great. It really is. But like, I think we could always be better, And what I encouraged him on was, hey, bro, you guys are growing. She knew that the marriage was an issue before. Don't keep highlighting that the marriage is still an issue. Let it continue to grow. Eventually you'll get to that spot where you can have these conversations, or you'll get to the spot where she'll desire this, or you can watch these things and it just won't be an issue because the old thoughts of not being enough for each other will be so long in the past. But 2 months is not that long ago. It'd be like, I don't know if Diane cheated on me and it was 2 months ago. Like, that would still be a fresh wound. But if she cheated on me 20 years ago, it wouldn't be a wound anymore. It'd be a big difference. Now, I'm not saying it's 20 years before they're there, but like with anything, if it's a year from down the road, whatever it may be, it's so much different. But anyways, and so we were talking and he said, at the end of the day, my wife told me 3 things. She gave me 3 affirmations. We were laying in bed and she said 3 things about me. And we had just got back from a trip that weekend. And she was just like, you were encouraging the kids. You were so much more helpful this weekend than you normally are. And I know you have a lot on your plate with your business and all this stuff, but you just kept asking if there's any way you can help and just taking initiative on that. And she would just affirm him in multiple ways. And they were laying in bed. And he said what was kind of a little bit of an awkward day because of that conversation around the podcast turned to now a positive, and he was getting his cup filled, and he's like, whoa, I didn't know she was thinking these things, or that she was noticing that I was putting intentional effort into that. And he said, dude, I closed my eyes and I was so like high on life. He says, I woke up the next morning, I was so high on life. I was driving to work, I was just so high on life. And what he realized when I asked him that question was that had he had sex the night before, it wouldn't have felt the exact same. Sure, he would have had an orgasm. That feels great. Sure, maybe that would release some stress or whatever. But he said it just didn't feel the same. And I broke it down for him this way. And I said, let me break it down for you this way. And this is why affirmations are always more important than sex. Because he could have had sex with his wife that night after a weird moment that day. And he would have thought to himself, even during it and after, did she only have sex with me just to kind of smooth things over from the day? Or did she have sex with me because she really wanted it, even though she might have got her desired goal in the sexual encounter, if you know what I mean? But did she do that because of it? So his thoughts would be wondering. He said, but because the affirmations were so genuine and she used specific instances from the previous weekend, he knew they were genuine and her tone of voice was genuine. And then she was the one who initiated. He didn't ask her for affirmation. She just genuinely did them.
Yeah, she's being intentional with her words.
Yeah.
You could feel it.
That he knew it was real. There was no hidden anything in it, which sometimes the sex is just easier to sometimes just be like, well, let's just have sex. I don't have to say anything. I don't got to have like I can be kind of emotionally closed off. We can just kind of get after it and be done. And this might be a weird analogy, but that's like doing cocaine. You're going to feel high for a little bit, but as soon as it's done, you're going to feel terrible. And it's the same thing with sex a lot of times. As soon as it's done and over with, if you know your spouse wasn't really all into it and you kind of had to talk her into it or whatever, you don't feel great after and the next day and all of that. But the affirmations do. And so I'll ask you this specific question right now. In your heart of hearts, would you rather have your wife, or if this is women listening to this, your husband, genuinely affirm you and just know what they mean is true? Or would you rather have them just have sex with you and do that? I'm not saying it's either or. Believe me, you can have both. But which one would you rather, what one would fill your cup the most? I know 100% of the time, or at least 90% of the time, most guys, I think it's higher than that. Just most guys are just so like, I just want sex, because that's where we're so programmed, every advertising and things like that in the world.
And it's because they're not getting the affirmations probably too. So they're like, oh, I'd rather have sex than nothing.
Yeah. 100%. No, great point on that, babe. It's like, well, at least I might as well get some sex out of this. But when you get the affirmations, that's all we want. Because a lot of people in life haven't got that. A lot of people in life are trying to earn approval from their spouse, from their boss, from their employees, from their parents, from friends, from anything, from the world, right? Like that's why typically people want like super nice cars and things like that, or dress super nice, or have like for women, it might be a nice bag. That nice bag does nothing different than the bag that you could get at Target. Like it is nothing different, 0% different. It may look a little bit better, but you can get a knockoff, right? That looks the exact same. Why do you want that bag? Or why does a man want something else that's like designer? Because of the status and approval behind it. That's what it is. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having those things, not to fill your cup, but just as an additive bonus once your internal is already filled up, which gets filled up by affirmations from yourself and from God. And then the other people will start doing it. When you're enough in yourself and enough in God, other people will want to give them to you because it's genuine. But when you're begging and needing for sex or affirmations, it's not going to be good either way.
No.
So that's my challenge, is to really ask yourself that. What would you rather have? And so I know for him it was huge. I know for me, I need affirmations from other people. I don't want to say need. I enjoy affirmations from other people. At one point in time, it was a need, to be honest with you.
Well, because you weren't fulfilled in other areas, so you were searching for something, and so it was more of a need. You needed those to fill you.
Because it was the external need rather than the internal need, because I wasn't enough in myself, right? Like I wasn't proud of myself, like I was decently physically fit. marriage was okay, parenting okay, friends were okay, finances were okay. Like everything was just like okay. So it's like nothing to really write home about. I hadn't ever achieved anything. Not that you need to achieve worldly success, but you, for the kingdom, the parable of the talents is very real. You need to do better and better. And that's not necessarily if you have $1,000, you need to turn it to 1 million. You can do more with 1 million to serve the kingdom, but it's more about you becoming better quality and character of a man, better all of that, and then how you're showing up and loving in other areas as well, and using your talents, as Dianne was talking about, that she has to become a better woman. And when she recognized her talents and things like that, she became a better woman. When I recognized my talents, I became a better man. And when I started using those for the kingdom for the right reasons, I was enough in myself and enough in God, and I didn't need those anymore. I still desire them and enjoy them. Diane's very good at them. I guess just for the women out there, babe, what would you say is something, because I know for you, you never really gave me affirmations. One, I probably didn't do much to really get them like I do. Like I'm doing more now as a man, a leader, and all those things to get them. But I wasn't like I was a dirtbag back in the day, and I didn't get any of them from you.
No, and I don't think it's because you didn't deserve them at all. I think it's just I didn't recognize it because I probably didn't feel that in myself either, and so I didn't recognize those things in order to think about even doing them.
Did you get them growing up? Like, did you get them from your parents growing up? Did they give you a lot of affirmations, like Diane, da da da, and telling you those type of things? Did you have it modeled for you, or was it just like
some? I'd say like if I got good grades or like I did good at a softball game or something, I probably got like good job. But I think most people probably don't get them on an everyday basis.
I think that's the society that we live in because most people haven't got them. I know like a lot of people haven't got them, like the guy I was telling you about. It's hard for his wife to give affirmations. And so I want you to understand that about him. He wasn't saying like, well, man, my wife's just really good at affirmations. No, she's actually, that's like something that the two areas that he was lacking from his wife that he really desired more quality, better sex, not like that she would get wilder, but that she actually seemed like she desired it. And two was affirmations. He's a super successful businessman and he just wants to be recognized for those things. And what he wanted, but he said that's so hard for her. And she's even said it's easier for her to have sex than it is to give affirmations.
I think unless it's something that you just comes super natural to you, it's a skill you have to learn.
It is. And so I asked him, I said, was she never given affirmations growing up? And he said, no, she came from a rougher family to where her family, I think her parents ended up getting divorced and things like that. And so it just wasn't shown in the household modeled, which is why it's so great to have a couple that's winning, because that's the best way to teach your kids, not by just giving your kids toys and being at every single baseball game. It's showing them a powerful, strong marriage. It's full of affirmations and love. That's the best way to raise kids. And so he said she didn't get that. And so now she has a hard time doing it because she's never was shown how to do it or seen it and watched it. So now that's what she repeats that cycle. He said, so she's growing in that. And I told her, I said, hey, here's the good news is the same way she learned not to do it is the same way she'll learn to do it is from seeing it modeled. So here's a tip for you men. You be the encourager in your house and you affirm your spouse and not just like, I love you. Thanks for making dinner. Like, no, like, I love you because, babe, I noticed the way that you get up early every morning and you make your bed no matter what. And then when the way you go in there and you tickle the kids and you laugh and joke with them and things like that, that just makes you stand out in my eyes so much that you're such a great mom. Like, that's an affirmation, not just like, I love you, babe. Like, telling each other love after a while is like, it's almost phony. Because, like, why do you love each other? Like, you have to, like, I want to know why you're proud of me. If you say you're proud of me, like, why are you proud of me? And so you model that to your spouse of doing that. And I can't tell you how many times guys go, well, I've done that and it doesn't work. You did it 3 times and you expect it to be that.
Once a month doesn't count.
Right. Or you did it for a month, which I guarantee you didn't.
You were doing it a lot. You were doing it before me and you were doing it for quite a while before I started really putting more effort into doing that, and so it wasn't just a month, it was like months that I started recognizing that you were doing it to me.
Right.
And I was like, that's different, and then I started taking notice.
Exactly. But I had that model to me because I started doing life with very high level Christian men. That's the importance of being in a brotherhood. That's what I love about our coaching program. It's a brotherhood, not just you getting your in specific life transformed. You have a brotherhood around you. When I was in a coaching program with a brotherhood like that, it showed me that they were doing that to me and they were doing that to the other brothers. And I was like, that's different. I've never been around friends that just honor you first. Man, Tommy, it's been so good to see you. Because we would get together once a month. Haven't seen you, man. I just got to say, man, this past month, I've just been loving your content. And this, and this. You've been doing is so great, man. And I just love the way you love on your wife. Like they would start every single conversation, not just one person, like multiple people. And I was like, that's weird. Then I started doing it to them. And then guess what they would say to me? Man, Tommy, you're so great at just honoring other people. And I'm like, man, I only honor because you honor. Now we're having like this honor battle going back and forth, as dumb and cheesy as it sounds, but it was the truth. Well, then I started doing it. But then as my character was changing, who I was becoming was changing. She not only saw that, but then my words and my actions were changing. And then I was honoring her. Well, then that gave her encouragement to change, because I tell you what, she was not the woman I have now
No,
at all.
yeah. And it was hard for me at first. It took me some time to figure that out. Like I said, it's a skill that you have to learn. And I truly do believe that. If it doesn't come natural to you, it's going to take work at first. You're going to have to think about these things and put some effort into it.
And something is better than nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where everybody gets confused. That's why people who don't start businesses, they're just like, man, it's going to be so hard. You're darn right it's hard. It is not easy. But if you don't ever start, you won't ever get there, right? Like, we're 4.5 years in, and like the momentum's really starting to build now, but it was 4.5 years of hard stuff. But had we never started, we'd be still stuck in the same old person that we were. I would not be affirming her. I'd be working a regular job. She'd be working a regular job. And we would be kind of just stuck in this life, not doing what the parable of talents is, saying, use your talents to go ahead and double up, triple up, quadruple up, all that stuff. We'd be stuck. Then our kids would be kind of seeing that when they'd be seeing the same thing, the mediocre life. And so it's challenging. You hear us talk about this all the time. Do quality time together. It's not going to be perfect at first. It's not going to be this mind-blowing conversation. It might be once, but then don't have expectation that the next time it's going to be that way. It's a process of getting it there through a long time. The Second Peter, I think the verse is 2 Peter 3:9, and it says, the Lord is not slow to fulfill his promises, as some see slowness, which means God's always on time. We just think he's always slow. No, he's on time because it's a preparation process. If all of a sudden, you listen to this podcast and you go affirm your spouse one time and all of a sudden she's just naked and doing it to you, like, you didn't do the work to earn it. It'd be like if all of a sudden you're 350 pounds and you're like, oh, I popped this pill and then tomorrow I'm 180 and I'm jacked. You didn't feel good about earning it. I feel good when I walk by the mirror because I earned this, right? If you feel good when you look at your bank account because you have men's because you earned it, right? Or I feel good about having a great marriage because I earned this. It's the same thing and all those things. You just got to go through the preparation process to do it. So then your house is built on rock and not sand, because then when the storm comes again, you're like, I knew it was too good to be true. So just keep going and you'll get better. You might be the worst affirmer ever. Just keep going. You'll get better. Mm-hmm. One of the things people tell me all the time is like, man, Tommy, I just want to be able to pray like you pray. You're just so passionate. You're so great at praying. I was like, bro, you didn't see me just a couple of years ago. My prayers sucked. They were terrible. Diane's prayers were even worse. But now
mine are still not as good, but it's still a skill and something that I feel like the more you do, the better you become more comfortable at it.
See, this is where you're going to watch some affirmations happen, babe. You are actually a really good person. Prayer. I hate the word prayer, but you really are really good at praying. And I really listen when you're praying over us at night, because we rotate
every other night.
Every other night, it's one night it's me, one night it's Dianne, who would pray over the family. And when I'm listening to your prayers, yes, I'm like, I think, listening and enjoying and focusing on God. But a lot of times I'm focusing on the words you're saying and thinking, wow, she's grown so much, and you really have.
Definitely better than what I used to be.
You're great. You're phenomenal, which was really cool last night. Our sons are 16 and 14, so they're not like 4. But because of Wednesday nights are busier for us because Dianne takes the kids to their church youth group, and then they bring their friends, and so she drops them all off carpooling style. And then on Wednesday nights, I meet with my Bible study men, and we go play pickleball. Don't judge me. It's really fun. And So we get back late. Well, so then it was like the night was like all jumbled up, and then the kids went upstairs and they were in bed, and my youngest, my 14-year-old goes, "Hey mom, we haven't prayed." Well, we've prayed for almost 2 years straight without missing a night, not even one night, no matter what. If we're out of town, we FaceTime our kids and pray with them. And he said, "Hey, we haven't prayed." And it was just really cool of like, wow, most kids at that age are like, no big deal. He was like, "Hey, we haven't prayed." And so it was great because we set the standard in that and are doing those things. And so we're also encourage you as you'll get better in all the things you do, just keep going. And I promise you, when you get a genuine word of affirmation and it's real, it'll fill your cup up far more than sex. But when you're getting filled up with affirmations, you won't need sex and it'll become a desire. And then because you're so full for getting filled up, guess what'll happen? You'll attract the sex because you're not needing it anymore. But the way you're going to be like, okay, well, I can't force my wife to affirm me. Oh, but you can. By first, like I said, you affirming them. But before even that, you have to be a man that is attractive. That's why our process that we teach in our program is a 3-phase process of resetting your life, of then going to an attraction phase of adding things in that are going to make you attractive, and then building the connection. You do that process and it's phenomenal. I promise you. Like, it's like wiping the factory, resetting your computer clean, and then adding the programs that are dope back in. Or it's like having a showroom floor car again after you just got rid of your old crappy clunker and now you have a showroom floor car. Great. But now you add the mods in, the tinted windows, the exhaust, the stereo system, the wheels, all of that. And now you're attractive even more. And then you use that to connect with your spouse.
And that's when your spouse is going to want to affirm you.
And then you're that man,
but you can't
that thing.
Yeah, but you can't expect affirmations if you're not doing anything to earn them. If you're, not changing yourself, you're not changing your heart, you're not growing, you're not getting better.
Yep.
Who's going to want to affirm somebody if they're not doing those things? Then it's just fake.
100% well said. So become the person who has to remove things that's unattractive and that's holding you emotionally back, because there's a lot of those things. 2, then add in the things that are going to make you emotionally and physically attractive. And then 3, connect. And when you're doing that, that connection phase is where you're doing the affirmations and things like that. You're being the encourager. You're doing that for them. And after you've done all of those, I promise you'll get them. It's most men just like, I want to go to the connection phase and like, why isn't she affirming me? Or why is she not having sex? And she doesn't want to spend quality time with me. Yeah, bro, because you haven't wiped your life clean. You haven't added back in things that are great. And then by that time, you're ready for that stuff. But if you just skip those first 2 and get to the third, it isn't going to work. You have to do every step. You can't skip the first one and not wipe your life clean and just add in things. It's not going to work. That's why so many people listen to regular podcasts or read books and they're like, man, this ain't changing my life, because they still haven't done the first step of wiping, the factory resetting their life. And so we got to go, because I got something I got to go do right now. But I want to tell you, you'll get the affirmations, and it's more important for sex, but ask yourself that. And if you want that and you want the sex is the ultimate thing, it will happen. Do the process I just told you about, wiping everything clean, adding the attraction back, and then building the connection. If you need help with that, let me know and message me, and I'll send you a free resource that walks you through that whole entire process. And then if you just want to skip that, then you can come and work with us. And that's awesome as well. But either way, if you could rate this podcast 5 stars, I would really, truly appreciate it. This really is a ministry to help so many men get to know God, themselves, and their wives better and create disciples. So God bless y'all. Much love.
Bye.